What happens when the job that you love becomes stale and you lose your enthusiasm for it? This happens so often with my clients that they've been at a company that's worked out really well for them for years, even decades. And then something happens that shifts the culture dramatically. It could be a merger, it could be new leadership, it could be an outside force such as an economic downturn, a technology change, or a pandemic. And the thought of moving can feel daunting. You know you feel stuck, but you're not sure what the next steps are to get out of that situation. I'm excited for you today to meet my client, Rebecca, who's a specialist in the legal field of privacy. And she was in this exact situation. Through our program, she was able to make her move into a much larger role where she found her passion again. Before we get started, I want to mention that because she's in the field of privacy, she preferred to not be on camera and stick with an audio podcast for us. I'm Jill Avey, a career success coach, and this is SisterSmart Leadership, the show that explores how women can rise from director to vice president and beyond by fully leaning into their feminine energy as their biggest advantage. Let's get you one step closer to the recognition and promotion you deserve. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on the show today. I so appreciate your time to come and share your story.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Great. So would you take us back to when you first started the SisterSmart program? What were you experiencing that made you realize that you wanted to have some guidance to get to the next level?
I was feeling stuck and stagnant. I had been in my prior organization for over 15 years in a lot of different roles, doing a lot of different things. And I hit a point where I didn't see any path forward. It was a very kind of a demoralizing feeling that, the work that had in prior years inspired me and made me really excited was starting to feel boring or just like, what was the point? So I was definitely ready to start exploring other options, and coaching was recommended to me. And at that point, I felt I was truly ready.
Like, what did it feel like to be stagnant? Like, why was that a problem for you?
Um, the coaching helped me identify why that was a problem. But at the time, I didn't really feel like anything made a difference. I had hit a point where I felt like I was doing the same work over and over, having the same conversations. It was very much like Groundhog Day. And I didn't see how my work was really contributing to much of anything or really moving the needle within my organization or just in my own job satisfaction. And it was kind of sad. Like, I tend to be, like so many of your clients, very type A, very ambitious. And I'd go to work and be like, if I did nothing, would that affect? Would anyone notice? Which is very contrary to my personality and work ethic. And so I really started thinking that I needed a change, both in how I was approaching my career and how I was approaching my job and whether I should start looking for another job. But it was one of those things where I recognized that I couldn't do it alone. I needed external support, external to me, but also external to my organization, because I, had a lot of really close friends there, including people who had coaching experience, and they wanted to help me, but they also wanted me to stay.
Yeah.
And the help they could give me within the organization, giving me opportunities within the organization, held no appeal anymore.
So you kind of topped out at what you thought you could do in the organization?
I topped out. And also the organization, one of the reasons I stayed with it for so long was because they kept giving me new exciting work. They kept allowing me to sort of stretch and meet new people and do new things. But the culture had changed pretty precipitously after COVID, and it no longer felt like a particularly safe, like psychologically safe place to work. So even if I was getting new work, it didn't feel like a good fit anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always hard, especially when companies, buy or get merged or things like that. Cultures can change so quickly.
Yeah.
And
really it was a little surprise. It was a little shocking to the system because you're in this sort of happy it felt like I was in a very happy place, and then things started not being so happy anymore. And it's a good reminder that your job doesn't love you. You have
Yeah.
to love you, and that it is just a job. And when it doesn't work for you anymore, it's okay to give yourself permission to do something else.
Oh, that's beautiful. So tell me about how you decided that that this wasn't the place for you anymore. Once you started in the program, you did quite a
Yep.
bit of exploration.
Well, I do want to also give credit to you because I found out about your program through a close friend who had actually worked with you in helping her make her own career decision and choice. And
Yeah.
she, at the time when we were working together, she asked me for feedback, which is part of your program, going around and asking people to give concrete examples of good performance or constructive criticism. And so she asked me to be one of those people. And I really loved the questions that she was asking and asked her to do the same for me.
Ah,
So watching her go through the program and then seeing how that helped her make her next career decision, I realized that was a really good option for me. Um, and so once I started, I think what was really incredibly impactful for me was doing the pre-work in the coaching program, which asks you to take a really hard look at your own strengths, your own opportunities, your own saboteurs. And from that, I felt like I had a lot of more clarity as to sort of why I was at the place I was at.
yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah.
I feel like that sort
You
of
got
set the stage for moving forward.
Yeah, and you got that clarity of your own current situation, which is a huge thing. So often we're, just going day to day, and we don't
Hmm.
have that clear vision of where we're at right now and why that's fitting or not fitting.
And just, I've never been much, I'm learning to be more mindful, partly because of this program and also just because of the sort of the point of my life that I'm at. But it was really the first time I took a really hard look at my own sort of it was a really helpful way to categorize like what it was that was driving me and what it was that was holding me back, particularly the saboteurs exercise, from which I learned that the reason I kept on taking new and different work was because I was considered restless, and that it's a helpful skill but can also really undermine you in like developing your career further.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great starting point to the exercise.
I felt like you also learned more about your leadership skills and your leadership potential through that process.
Very much so. I had never, prior to my current role, I had never been a direct manager. I had done a ton of indirect management, up, down, sideways, diagonally, and I sort of never, it wasn't like clear to me that that was leadership. And so
Hmm.
this was like holding up a mirror and saying, oh, you've actually been leading for over a decade. It's just
Yeah.
because it's not in the org chart, that doesn't mean anything. It's the leadership skills have been developed.
Yeah. Yeah. You had a lot of leadership in your background, and it can be hard in the legal field where there's,
Hmm.
kind of general counsel or nothing in some companies. And so that can be hard to feel like a leader when you're in that individual contributor role.
And the legal field is very peculiar in that way. Like you said, it you can be a leader within a legal department, and that's my current role right now. But it's interesting. I feel like lawyers would benefit from this kind of coaching because these structures to enhance leadership skills, to develop soft skills in the workplace. I don't think companies often think of lawyers as being candidates or subject to those skills. It's like, oh, they're just advising on risk, they're just advising on compliance, they're writing memos and briefs. We want to develop the salespeople, the engineers, like the
Yeah.
future C-suites of America. And so much of the skills that I learned from this course, and also that the course helped me identify within myself, uh, it's absolutely applicable in the legal field, and it
Yeah.
absolutely makes you a better lawyer.
Yeah. You're still a leader. You're still on teams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. And I think you worked a lot on executive presence as well.
I did. That was another thing that I was able to reflect on as I was going through the course, was because I had been in this organization for over 15 years, I got very complacent. And so it was like, yeah, whatever, I'll throw on some sweater and some jeans and go to work and whatever. Everyone's dressing the same. And I think we've all heard the cliche, dress for the job you want, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also dress for the job you have. And to establish that recognition and that presence, you do have to present. And there was a lot of really helpful material in the course that focused on how you present yourself, not just appearance wise, but attitude, voice. I thought the voice exercise was really cool. Um, Pausing, thinking, just sort of the whole package was incredibly helpful. And again, in the legal side, it's like, okay, the lawyers are here. That's great. They'll handle it. But we're going to listen to the C-suite or the salespeople. So it was a great way to help me develop those skills to play in the same field.
Do you feel like it affected how much you were able to influence things?
Certainly in my current role, yes. I think by showing up the way a leader should and really leaning into the executive presence work, I think it absolutely has allowed me to hit the ground running and make the impression I need to make on the leaders that I'm working with. Actually, everyone I'm working with, but particularly leadership. In my prior role, I had already sort of established this credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so it also allowed me to become a little bit complacent.
Yeah.
And I didn't really start executing on the executive presence work until I started in my new role. So
Yeah. Well, that's a
at
great
that point,
segue. Tell me
yeah.
about how, I mean, because here's the exciting part is that how did you decide when it was the time to leave?
I decided when it was time to leave, when I started witnessing other people who had been very valued members of this organization leaving and watching how their departures were handled signaled to me that this was not the right place for me anymore. That,
Mm-hmm.
coupled with my feeling of meh,
Mm-hmm.
it was a clear signal. And that's also, I believe, when we started working together in that time range, because I realized I needed to shift my focus from just sort of getting through day to day to working on myself and treating networking and job hunting as a significant percentage of my time.
Okay, so you started your job hunt, and tell us where you landed and how that went for you.
It was interesting and a little frustrating as well. I think I started the job hunt by first going through my resume and LinkedIn and making sure it was up to date, because I hadn't been doing that.
Yeah.
And that was a huge amount of work. And if I could give any advice to anyone listening to this podcast, is keep your resume up to date. Do them like a biannual check. Keep it and LinkedIn pristine, because if you ever need to make a change later on, it is actually uh, quite a lot of work to bring it up to your present time. It's
Yeah, that
also a
alone can hold people back.
yes, it's because if you want to go switch on the open to work button on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that that's not on until it's exactly what you want it to say.
Right.
And so the sooner you have your LinkedIn and your resume up to date, the sooner you can do that. But I also found it to be an incredible ego boost and
Yeah.
self-confidence boost. Because like so many others, imposter syndrome's been a close acquaintance of mine. And it was great to see everything on paper and say, oh, I've done a humongous amount of interesting work and had had quite a lot of success in my career. So that was the first step. I started networking like nobody's business. Like it
Mm.
was every opportunity to be at different conferences, evening events in my legal network, both for my own, just sort of the general legal community, but also my areas of expertise. And not telling people I'm looking, but talking up what I was doing so that if
Mhm.
anyone thought of me, they would, or anyone had a need, they could think of me. And that's actually what ended up leading to my new position. Was I was talking about my work and somebody thought of me when they heard about an open role.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took about a year though, I'd say, from start to finish, from like when I made the decision that I was going to start looking to when I landed the next gig.
Yeah, and that was such perfect timing to be doing this program in that time where you were looking, and so you have all that under your belt when you land.
So true, especially for the interview process and, going through that executive presence module was incredibly helpful. Um, I just that's something I continue to lean on, but, I hadn't been in a job interview in over 15 years, and so that was a that was big, and having that material to refer to, and also you to refer to lean on was incredibly helpful.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Um, and so tell us about where you landed and what kind of role, like what was the move up for you?
It it's a medium to large publicly traded consumer products company, and I'm in the law department, and I have a team. I have a sizable team of people that report to me, and it's a job, it's a promotion in that I have a team. I was basically given a mandate to reframe, redefine the whole program that I'm responsible for, and had the support and financial and leadership to do that. So it was very much a here's the issue, here's the resources, we support you to do the thing. And it's been phenomenal. Like just can't believe it. It's been a really great year, almost year.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm so excited for this opportunity for you because you've been able to really show all those leadership skills that you had and pull this team together in a way that now they're performing so well. And I think
Hmm.
you were mentioning that you used some of the conversational intelligence skills that you learned as well with your team.
The 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 whole the section in your course on vulnerability, being vulnerable at work, that how that creates psychological safety. Uh, I have I have always been a pretty open book with the people I work with, and not an oversharer, but I think I am comfortable sharing of myself. And it was great to see that reflected back in the course that, yeah, that is actually a really helpful leadership tool. And it's a great way. That's sort of been one of the reasons that I've been really successful in forming close working relationships and friendships, and starting off as a leader at this new organization with a team that had been working together for many years, but now had a brand new
Yeah.
leader. It was extremely helpful for me in that I could feel like, okay, I'm doing the right thing by being open, by sharing, by being that sort of confidant. And it was also good for them as well. It helped us build a rapport at the beginning, and then it's deepened as we've worked together very closely over the last year.
Yeah, and opened them up to have some real conversations so that you can work on things and make the changes you needed to make. And
And also, one thing that really helped was our conversations about cultivating feedback.
hmm
And especially for a new leader, if you don't have people aren't going to share with you their true feelings unless you really ask for it, and then when you get it, show a huge amount of appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was incredibly helpful too in building those relationships, to hear what my team is saying to me, and instead of either reacting or getting defensive or not saying anything, to be like, thank you. That is incredibly helpful. I'm going to think about it, and then let's talk about it, because that increases the likelihood you'll hear about things and that your team will stay happy, and it'll also help me grow as a leader.
Yeah. And so many leaders don't ever have the confidence or this toolkit to be able to do that. So
Yeah, I've seen examples both ways in my career. Lawyers in particular can be very prickly
yes.
people. So I've definitely seen a lot of that.
And if you respond to something with a sense of prickliness, it doesn't invite people to give you feedback again. And that can really hold back your ability to do your job. And what you're talking about is just such an important piece of leading that often goes missed. So I've been so excited for you to be able to just start that way and start with these open conversations. And really, I think that's helped you create a lot of momentum early on.
I think so too. We've accomplished a huge amount in the first year, and it's been very gratifying to hear feedback, not just from my team and the law department, but for the business clients, because that kind of relationship and team cohesiveness benefits our internal clients as well as us.
Right.
They are more likely to come talk to us, and so that psychological safety, I've been cultivating that with my own team, but also our business clients, so they feel like if they come to us with a tricky problem, we're not going to be mad at them or punish them or slow them down. We're going to work together. And I've seen many examples in my career, especially with the law department. The law department is often seen as the department of no,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always I think an inclination to go around, because the law department's job is to make sure that risks are managed properly. But if the internal lawyer isn't open and friendly, you're not going to find out about those problems until they've turned into something that's much more expensive and disruptive.
Yeah.
So I think prickliness does not do you much good in an in-house situation.
Right, right. And I think this is something that can be expanded out to so many other departments when you've got like regulatory or QC or finance or, these kinds of jobs where the role is to protect and to assess and
Right.
they're not always fun, solving problems and things like that, So yeah.
Service departments.
Exactly. This is a program for women. What are some of the things that have helped you to bring your feminine energy to leadership?
So the feminine energy, I've also seen in my career that women often feel like they have to be nice all the time. And that niceness often leads to us getting trampled, ignored, not valued, or not promoted. And so the tips that you gave in your course, and then of course the recommendations for additional reading that you give, I think really helped me identify how to leverage what's considered feminine energy to succeed. And that is that sort of that likableness sphere. Like, it can turn into a problem if you're too likable, but if you're likable with a spine, and you can say no firmly but kindly, is incredibly helpful. And so likable badass, I thought, was a great thesis on how to thread that needle and really become a strong, respected leader who isn't seen as a bitch or a pushover. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it in my new role. Like, I've definitely seen, uh, I've definitely had situations where I've had to stand up and say, that's not acceptable, and here's how we're going to do it, but in a way that people are still talking to me. So I think it's going well.
That's great. And I love this, The Likeable Badass is a book that I always recommend by Allison Forgale. And so I'll make sure to
Mm-hmm.
link that in the show notes for anybody who wants to check it out, because it's such a great framework for that, tough but kind
Mm-hmm.
sort of approach. And it works really well for women.
So much about your course helped me identify and refine things that I had sort of been touching on or doing in the past, but I always took, especially in my past role, a kill 'em with kindness approach of being very persistent and really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do this for me. Yeah, you're going to do this for me, and everyone's going to be happy. Thank you so much. And that I think feeds into the whole likable badass concept.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. And bringing that warmth is super helpful for women,
Mm-hmm.
because it just kind of tempers what society expects of women, that we're helpful,
Right.
pleasing, and nice. And so we get to still accomplish all the things that we want to do, but that warmth kind of takes the edge off. So it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that that comes to mind for you that you'd like to share about what you've done in the program and what the results have been for you?
So the personal strategy retreat is a key part of the coaching program, and I loved how it forced me to unplug and reflect, which are two things that are extremely challenging for me when it comes to my own personal life. I can certainly reflect on work and strategy there, but treating my own development as being valuable and necessary as work was it was a great, it was giving permission, and it made it really easier for me to do. So that was a wonderful weekend, long weekend of just going through the questions as part of that retreat, thinking deeply about what I had learned, sort of recapping it, doing some exercises as to like where I saw myself in 5, 10, 20 years. Uh, it helped me, I think, define how I wanted to show up in this current role and how to approach it long term, approach my career long term, instead of just like, I'm going to be in this role forever. Like, no, I need to do what's right for me and what's right for my long term strategy and career and family. Um, so it was a really good time out from the daily world to think through that carefully. And I was very
Fantastic.
fortunate that my family was okay with me disappearing
Yeah.
for a long weekend to do some deep thinking.
How did that affect your work-life balance with your family and all of the things that you're holding?
I think the fact that strategy weekend asks you to see your career as part of a greater whole
Mm-hmm.
helped remind me that, whatever it is that I am going to be doing career wise, my family is more important in many ways. And so making sure that there's balance,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not balance within a certain period of time, but long-term balance was really important so that I could strategize on how to work my schedule to meet that. But it let me hold the two in the same place and look at them and say, okay, I want these two things. Here's how I'm going to go about sustaining them: career,
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, and you and your husband both have big careers, and so
Hmm.
these are really important things to be thinking about.
Yeah.
And how do you raise your kids, and all of that,
Right.
you
And get
know.
some sleep occasionally.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's so important to me, that we create more balance, not less, but
Hmm.
still have a successful career, and that we can do all of that by being a little bit intentional about it.
And I think the module about the busyness trap and how we
Mm,
fill our days with tasks and how that really hurts us in the long run plays into that balance, that conversation about balance, both work and home life. It is cleaning the deck of those tasks that really aren't long-term meaningful so that you can focus on the things that are.
yeah. Fantastic. Thanks so much for talking to us today. And
You're
I
welcome.
know that this is going to inspire so many people. And I hope some people in the legal field as well, because I love working with lawyers. I would love to hear, I ask this of every guest because we all need more women to look up to. Who is a woman that you look up to in your life?
So when I was a baby lawyer, right out of law school in my first job, I had this expectation that I had to know everything. And there's in the law field, there are people out there who sort of perpetuate that myth that, what do you mean you got this wrong? There's this sort of high standard of perfection that a lot of lawyers expect of their peers. They certainly expect it of themselves.
Yeah.
And as a new lawyer, it can be pretty devastating to run up against that expectation when you really know nothing because you're right out of law school.
Right.
So I was in a law firm, a boutique law firm, and there was like 3 women who were partners, unsurprisingly. Um, 2 of whom really were very much like the dudes and
Mm-hmm.
having those unreasonable expectations. But there was one woman, um, now I'm thinking back, she seemed so old and wise. She was probably my age.
Yeah.
And and she was just so practical and warm, but she was a likable badass, like, looking back on her, like, she got it, she understood, she remembered what it was like to be a young woman in a male-dominated field. She remembered her sharing stories of what she faced, both from peers and judges,
Mm-hmm.
and her advice, we were working on a pro bono case together, and I was outraged by the way that this client had been treated. And she gave me some really great advice about how to harness your passion and emotions in a way that helps you it helps you see clearly versus blinds you.
Mm-hmm.
How to use that to find the facts, how to advocate for the facts without just being so overwhelmed by outrage that you don't actually act in a persuasive way. And I've kept that with me for my whole career.
Yeah. What a great lesson.
And she was just awesome. She was just so much fun to work with. You never felt she had created that psychological safety when working with her. So it was really nice to see that that kind of leadership was possible for
Yeah.
women.
Right. What a great role model, right? Early in your career, and fun and
Yeah.
lawyers doesn't always go together. So when you can bring it, I'm a
I
huge advocate of bringing fun and levity into our work because it helps so many things.
and that is one of I think my superpowers is bringing humor to all the conversations or as many conversations as possible work-wise, because if people are smiling and laughing, they're a lot less likely to be they're more likely to work with you as opposed to against you.
Yeah. Great note to end on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to
You're welcome.
talk with us today. And it's been such a joy to work with you. And I know that you're going to
Likewise.
do great things.
Thank you.
What did you find most insightful about what Rebecca shared? What's the next bold move that you can make? We'd love to hear about it in the comments if you're listening to this on YouTube. If you'd like to learn more about the Sisters in Leadership program to see if it might be a fit for you, click on the link below and listen to our private podcast that will take you through our process in helping women like Rebecca move up in their careers. If you're a woman who wants to improve your leadership skills and move up in your career, you'll want to check it out at SisterSmart.com, and I'll put the link in the show notes for you. And if you want to dive deeper into women's leadership and how to move up in your career, subscribe either on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I'm on a mission to help more women get into leadership and stay there. And if that's aligned with you, I'd love to have you be part of this community and tune into more episodes on SisterSmart Leadership that will support you in becoming the leader you want to be. If you're ready to fully lean into your feminine leadership and get promoted from director to vice president and beyond, hit that subscribe button so you'll get all the episodes to come. And check out the recommended video here to see how women are rising up without playing by the old rules that built these male-dominated industries and systems.